Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining in. It is another fabulous Tuesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time for Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. We got another amazing guest on the show today, and we're going to be talking about my favorite topic. We're talking about time to show up. You know what I mean? Coming to the next level, moving up to the next level. And we got somebody that's been doing it a long time. She's not new to this game, but she's going to bring us some insight. She's going to give us her story, and she's going to tell us some tips so maybe that we can level up because it's 2022. We're early in the first quarter. You got a lot of things that you should have probably been working on in 2021 to get yourself prepared, but we're not going to belabor that point. We're going to get into 2022 and we're going to bring the noise. But I can't do this by myself. Of course, I got my fabulous co-host that is joining me. I got to get rid of that term co-host. I just do not like half sound. I got my fabulous host with me, my sister, my cousin, my niece, all the terms that we show love and endearment with. What's up, Charlene?
What's going on?
What's
Hello,
going on?
hello.
What's going on? We're talking about something today, that next level real talk, right? We real talk all the time. You know, we real talking all the time, but we talking next level. And we
Yes.
got a phenomenal guest on today that I know, Rob, you keep talking about that picture, bro. I got to get it up, man. Rob, I done got more compliments about this background than I have about Jesus. Now, you know there's something wrong with that, right? You the only one want to see Jesus. So I don't know. But anyway, I thank you for coming back. Also, thank all the guests that are tuning in live. We really thank you for joining in. We cannot do this show without you. We appreciate and love your support. If you're checking in on hashtag replay, please drop in the comments. Also, where you're tuning in from. Join the discussion. We do go back, we do watch it, we do interact with the comments, and we do reach out to those that have participated in the show. With all that being said, Charlene, let's bring our guest on today.
Yes, I just want to have her tell her story, share who she is, and you guys are going to be into this because we want to make sure that you are also dropping your comments, dropping your
Absolutely.
questions, because it's time to show up, y'all. So let's bring on Jackie. Come
Yeah.
on in, Jackie. How are you?
What's up, Jackie? What's going
Hi,
on? How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good,
Good,
Jackie.
good,
I
good.
I fell in love. First of all, it's kind of like a love hate. I'm from Chicago. You're in Milwaukee. You already know that football thing, right? The Bears and Aaron Rodgers, right? So we just gonna push that to the side. We just gonna put that to the side. So I'm gonna show you this Chicago love because I know Aaron said he owns us in Chicago. So I'm gonna show you that Chicago love. But how are you doing?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan,
I
so maybe
love that. I
maybe
love
we have
that.
more in common than you
Yeah.
think,
All right.
honestly.
I love that. I love that.
We have Clarine too. She's from Milwaukee,
Clarine,
What's
thanks
tuning
for
up,
in.
joining
Come
us,
Clarine?
on
Midwestern.
now.
I love when we had a Midwest song because I fight so much with this New Yorker. Wait, over here that I
Well,
got as a host.
other
What?
other side.
Yeah, the other
He's
side.
he's in Dusty Jersey. That's where he is. He's
See
in
how we
Dusty
do.
Oh,
Jersey.
See how we do. See how we do. So I get excited that I get some hometown love. You know, since I've been on the East Coast, these New Yorkers they try to play hard. But
Hey.
anyway, Jackie, tell us a little bit about. Let our guests know a little bit about you and what you're doing.
I already have tears in my eyes from laughing, and we're like 2 minutes in, so thank you. It's gonna be a good one. Let's see. Where should I start? I guess so. I own a company called Excelity. It's a B2B marketing agency. It is fully bootstrapped, means no funding. I've actually never taken out any debt to run the company, which is cool and also stressful. So we can talk a little bit about that. I'm a mom of three, two
Wow.
11-year-olds and a 15-year-old teenager, which is anyone who parents a teenager, you know how fun that is. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's basic overview. There it is.
Oh wow. Three kids and a teenager looking at you. I would never thought you had a teenager. That's how good life has been.
Yeah,
But
life is good.
tell us about this. How did you say? Because I'm interested. You piqued my ears. I mean, I love what you do, and I love how you do it. But tell us, how did you really start this without like needing anything? Without like,
Mhm.
how did this progress get to where you are now?
I mean, I probably could have used funding at the
Hmm.
beginning. And there are still periods now where I'm like, it would be nice to have like, a larger safety net than we do. But I was working full time when I started it. So that's one big thing. Like anyone who's starting a side hustle or starting a company, if you can start it on the side and you have the bandwidth to do that, that's always like my best advice because then you're still making money. It makes it just a little bit less stressful. Then after I ran it for, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year. I ended up leaving my full time job and I was just consulting with myself at that time. So I didn't have employees or anything like that. And that has most certainly changed. So now we have a team of about 20, and we've been in business for almost 9 years, which is kind of crazy, almost a decade.
Man,
Wow.
it sneaks up on you. It sneaks up on
Hmm.
you.
Truly, truly.
Were
And
you?
I wanted
Go
to
ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. I wanted to say with that being said, with all that you've accomplished, looking back on it, what's one thing that you think you would have done differently that might have helped you get to where you are now a little faster and less stressed?
Good question. I think building, so it's been interesting this last year because my husband started consulting as well. And he started in a very similar place as I did, except he had more experience and a heck of a lot more connections. And he was able to build, what took me years in about a year. So looking back, I think it's pretty clear to me that if I had built my network a little bit more and I had those stronger connections up front, that it would have accelerated the process. And it's a lot easier to generate revenue and get new business when you know people, right, that want to work with you or can refer you business. So like when people are talking about how to get started on LinkedIn, I'm like, build first. Meet people, talk to people before you ever start going out and posting. And then I think it would really accelerate progress. I'm sure I could do it faster the second time around, but who
Yeah,
knows? I don't think there's going to be a second time. Here we are.
it's all
Love
it's all a learning process, right? I didn't know that. I had a plan, right? Um, I didn't have an entrepreneurial plan, but I had a plan in which how I wanted to be on LinkedIn, and of course, the pandemic accelerated that. I think it did tremendously for all of us as far as
Yeah.
our thought process and what we were going to do for our futures. And I think taking that into fact when we had all of this time with the work from home, and I work in the legal field, so a lot of things were shut down where I couldn't go, courts and those kind of things. So my avenues was really all I had was a computer and do
Mhm.
research for the law firm. So I really couldn't do anything but sit on the computer 12, 13 hours a day. So with the use of that and learning those kind of tools, it kind of got me to a point of prompting myself, what can I do for myself? Because I was trapped sort of like a lot of people are. Like, oh, okay, I can't go to the office because this is all I've known. I can't go to
Yeah.
corporate. This is all I've worked at. And now looking at how you started that and you've kind of like glossed that into your side hustle into what you're doing now, given some of the things that you thought about in that side hustle, were there some things in there that you kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say red flags, but some things in there that you kind of could have picked up and would have accelerated your growth on that side hustle?
Yeah. I mean, had I been less worried about outside funding, like for example, getting a line of credit in place and using it, there's no harm in that, right? It's like taking out a tiny loan and using it to cash flow. Instead, I was using my own money and kind of like moving money around, trying to hope everything worked out. And it would just have been a lot less stressful if I had like known about those sources and really leaned on them up front. So I think that could have accelerated growth. Also, I my first hire, I met her for coffee and I was like, I like her and I think she could do the job. And then I hired her. That's not really the way you should hire employees. So in hindsight, now I've learned, but figuring out how to hire and who's a good fit and how to evaluate people sooner would have helped too. I mean, I was like flying by the seat of my pants for a good 3, 4, maybe 5 years there.
Good. So I heard you say your husband was like an ace in this, right? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking like I'm just thinking pilot and co-pilot, right? You
Mhm.
guys working together. Was there anything that he shared in your journey, or was like just letting you just like fly and learn? Because sometimes people try to do that, and they call it kind of like tough love. I'm gonna let you experience it. I'm gonna let you go through. I'm gonna let you fortify yourself and build up your resilience to what this industry is holding. But there any carrots or nuggets that he gave you during the course of you developing your set and your skills and your company?
Yeah, so I actually was 8 years in by the time he started his company. So it was
Also,
kind
it's
of the
reverse.
reverse. Yeah, it
Okay.
was the reverse where I mean, I think he definitely wants my advice and he also wants to figure it out on his own. It's a different kind of company. So I'm kind of like, let me know when you need me, and like trying to keep my mouth shut because I have lots of opinions about everything. So, I've just been watching him as he goes and he's doing really, really well. I'm really proud of him.
Nice. And especially I think what also I like is when someone can really level up and step into what they know and then start that business. It seems like it gives them a whole different layer. So they're
Mhm.
not, even though the business is new, they're not new. So they're
Right.
taking all those skills that they've been helping another business really accomplish their goals, and now they're bringing it into their own business. And I see a lot of times those type of entrepreneurs excel faster and they have a
Mhm.
longer shelf life. What would you say for those starting out, and maybe they don't have a lot of experience or they're nervous about, can they really trust their gut? Because a lot of times some people get shut down at the corporate, so they start to distrust. Do I even really know what I'm doing? What's going on? What advice would you have for those people?
I operate by my gut, maybe even a little bit too much. Like my intuition, I will weigh everything that's in front of me, but then whatever my intuition tells me is the way that I'm going to go. And it served me fairly well. That said, I could probably use, people checking me along the line. Like I write a weekly letter every single week. And my last one was about like financials and cash flow and how you need that person checking you and saying, this is what the numbers say. Whereas I am like, I called it in my weekly letter, stupidly optimistic, where I'm like, even in all of these 9 years where like I couldn't make payroll or anything else that happened, I was like, it's going to be fine. There was never one time where I was like, I think this company is going to go under. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And I had the confidence in that. So I think that if you can trust yourself and build that confidence in yourself, you'll know what to do.
Love that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
love that because failure really isn't. You look at it and you said when you have the solid backing, so to speak, of corporate, and you have that company that's behind you with the tremendous resources that they give you at your disposal, right? I was talked to Charlene about this, and I used to do training and workshops for corporate, right? So I just would on the way out to wherever I had to go, I would just drop by HR, get the packets, put them in the trunk of the car, and I head to where I have to go. So I had my first one of my own this past summer, and it was frightening actually. It's not that I didn't know what I was doing, but it was like there's so much stuff to prepare that other people prepared for me. And
Mhm.
when you think about that, as that, did you kind of have this entrepreneurial spirit? Because I've heard that for the longest before I even thought about being an entrepreneur, right? You got to have this spirit. You got to have this. And I always just thought, well, you just work hard and things will flow for you. What's
Mhm.
really the difference that you've seen from corporate to entrepreneurship? Because everybody talks about, oh, it's harder. You have more to do. It's only you in the beginning. But what are some of those tangibles that you've seen are tremendously different? And what they really value as the entrepreneurial spirit.
Mhm.
I think that you have to have an appetite for risk and you have to be calm under pressure because the amount of pressure that you're under in corporate. I worked in a corporate career was where I was under plenty of pressure, right? And I put lots of that pressure on myself because I've always been like an achiever, right? So whether I was working for
Mhm.
someone else or I was working for myself, I wanted to be the best at what I did and I wanted to achieve. But you have to really be able to take all of that risk on your shoulders and be okay. And I think that that can break people sometimes, right? And not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone should be an entrepreneur. I never thought I was going to be one. Like I was the first person in my family that went to college, and both of my parents kind of told me, like you should really go to college because they felt it had held them back. Whether that's true today or not, a lot of people don't even go to college now. And if you're kind of like coming out of high school and you're ready to hustle, you can really start your own thing. But I was really like, I was looking for stability. I went to college. I got my MBA. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And I didn't even think that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Whereas I think a lot of people that own companies look back and they're like, oh, I always knew. That is not, that's not my story. Looking back, I always hustled, but I didn't really equate that to the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, 'cause I knew I didn't want to hold someone else's livelihood in my hands because I was like, I might go get willy-nilly and decide I don't want to do this anymore. And you can't once you have employees, you can no longer do that. Now every decision you make, you have to take them into consideration for sure.
Seriously. And it's such a big, I mean, I wouldn't say it's heavy, but it's a big responsibility, right? It's when you're the livelihood of my team. And now my team, we have so many like pandemic babies and there's so much going on. And it's like, okay, now it's like, I hold the responsibility of helping my team and their livelihood and their families and their husbands. And, like there's a lot that depends on this company going well. And I think that it can scare you and it can also make you like dig in and work that much harder.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's scary and it's frightening when you think about that. And a lot of people do not thrive under pressure, though. I think all people thrive under pressure. I think it's the particulars of the pressure because a lot of
hmm
things is it's the way that people internalize the pressure. Because a lot of pressure push, and someone told me a long time ago, pressure bust pipes, right? I get that analogy and I get that vision, but when you have pressure, like you were saying, and you made a great point, there's pressure in that corporate arena, and though you're not thinking about someone's job so much as at stake based upon what you do, I mean, they internalize it to you to say, okay, these reports are due, these figures are done, and you're counted on for those, but you don't take on the weight of, like you said, someone's family that is working for you is dependent on this company staying afloat. And though there's pressure that's just a different pressure. I think internalized, I think we tend to change it to what it really means. But I think that pressure is really there. What looking back at some of the things that you look at and some of the things that you went through and what you're going through now, what is some advice that you can give those who being in it for so long? I'm pretty sure you've had a lot of situations that taught you and a lot of situations where you could be like, I shouldn't have done that. What are some of the what are some of the top tips that you think has really propelled you to that next level?
Yeah, I think, oh gosh, as soon as you started saying that, I was like, I have 12 things to share. Where should I start?
Share them,
One,
share them, share them.
uh, I would say one is looking at your own like mental health and physical health and working on that before you need it, right? So I kind of thought that, I don't know, I have lots of friends that work on their mental health, and I used to think they were very woo woo, right? And I was like, okay, you're working on your mindset. Sounds great, but that's just, it wasn't tangible to me. And therefore, I didn't work on it until I really kind of needed it and needed to rely on, my mindset and my grit and how tough I had become to get through whatever I was going through at the time. It's a journey. So looking at your mental health and your physical health and making sure that you are taking care of yourself, because you cannot show up for other people if you are not taking care of yourself. So that is a big one. I would also say I'm a really fast decision maker, and I wish I would have slowed down and evaluated some of the risks that I took a little bit further. Like, for example, when we were looking to grow, I hired an outsourced sales company. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I definitely should have vetted a lot more options before I signed the contract, because we got sucked into a 6-month contract that netted us pretty much nothing, right? And I think that had I really looked at like the worst case scenario, like what's the worst case? I could spend $50,000 and make zero. Is this risk really worth it? I should have looked at that stuff a little bit more closely. I think everyone talks about how important it is to make decisions fast. And I have learned that it is important to move quickly, and it's also important to slow down and make sure you're evaluating every single part of it. I'll
Yeah.
stop
I'm,
there.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm turning it over to Charlene, but I want to tap in on that because when I first started this entrepreneurship, that was everybody's key advice they wanted to give me. Like, you got to move because, I joined a couple of trainings, and that was kind of like their highlight of the training. Like, you want to move fast, you want to get in fast, you got to make that quick decision. And I've never been one in my life to make quick decisions. So I think being in entrepreneurship really kind of like, I never had that where I'm going to make a choice quickly, and I never had it.
Hmm.
And a lot of people would say that procrastination. No, I just have a thought process with things, and if I haven't taken it through that thought process, I feel that I've cheated myself out of all the opportunities that's available. And I think that when you make quick decisions, they can benefit you, but I've always been under the auspices of thinking that they can harm you quicker than they can benefit you because you're
Mhm.
not taking the time out. And it did that. I did a couple. I joined a speakers program. I paid $3,000, and this guy just sent me emails and worksheets. But I was supposed to be getting speaking engagements and put in this cycle of going to speak and do trainings. And all I got for 3 grand was emails and worksheets, prompts and what to write for
Hmm.
content. I didn't need any of that. But I made a quick decision because I was like, this is what I want to get into. And I like what you said, that and how you really put that to the forefront, because a lot of people need to understand this is decisions that you need to make based upon how you feel about them, how you have taken and done your homework in them, and how you think they will play out for you in the long run.
Yeah, there's a midpoint, right? Like I do think that some people take so long to make decisions that it
Yeah.
harms them. And then I have always been on the fast side, which I think my employees often appreciate because they're like, "All right, great, we can keep moving." But, there's like just as with everything in life, I think there's a midpoint that is probably the best case scenario.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
balance.
And I like where you guys are going with this in the terms of making decisions and then understanding why you're making these decisions. I find a lot of times you'll have an entrepreneur just starting and they'll get all these inputs of, oh, you should be doing this, you should do this, you should do that. Like right now there's a huge surge again, and being in business for 8 years and being a developer for 21, 20, almost 22 years, I see the trends. So now we're in currently the trend is back to courses, it's back to podcasting. These are things that are always being tossed out to people. And as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you're told, oh, you have to get this now. You have to do this now. You have to do this now. Join this, join that. Let's learn together. And like Carl said, before you know it, you're like, yeah, yeah, okay, I'm in a tizzy. Let me jump in. And you're getting emails that don't really speak to you. They don't even bring you in to teach you anything. So I think that's a great thing to, sometimes you need to slow down. And even if you have someone who's near you, maybe a mentor or a business bestie, as they're calling now, or a partner, a husband, wife, partner, someone who can be objective and still be supportive and tell you, you know what, how about we put that one on pause, take this one. What are your ultimate goals? Because I always try to focus on that. What is the ultimate goal of right now? What's going to get you to the next quarter? What's going to get this business to move forward? And what have you seen as you have you been in business, Jackie? What have you seen that's really got you to say, okay, no, I need to put this on pause. Let me move forward with this. Has it been you having a strategy already, or do you just go as it comes?
There's a lot of things that I want to do and have always wanted to do, right? Like you were talking about courses, podcasts, those have all been in my mind for years. I mean, for a few years, I've been like, okay, I should probably start a podcast. I launched my podcast in September of last year, but I waited a really long time because I wanted, excuse me, I
Mhm.
wanted to be sure that I was not only ready, but that I could do it really well, because I don't want to take on, that's the problem I think with all of, they can be distractions. Like, you want to go into business, you want to launch a course, you want to launch a podcast, you want to go out speaking, then you need clients and you're consulting. And it's like, you can't do all of that at the same time and do it well. And so, in all of these cases, I waited so long to start the podcast, even though I had been thinking about it for years, because I wanted to be able to really dig in all the way and do it really well, like where I can be consistent with the episodes that I'm putting out, and the production value is where I want it to be. And I have a promotion plan, and like I went all the way through the process from A to Z. So I think you really have to think about, before you make decisions like this, if I can't do it all the way out and I can't do it well, then I don't think you should start.
Yeah,
Love that.
I love that too. That was a teacher for me. Like
Mhm.
my first website, I put I put everything on it that I wanted to do. Right?
Yeah.
I did. Well, I put everything on it that I was already doing in corporate. But the funny thing that I didn't really realize is when it's your business, yeah, this is just me telling on myself because I think it's good. It's good for people to hear. When it's your business, you just have this idea that you can do it all because,
Mhm.
of course, it's yours, right? So I'm putting all the things that I do for a company that I previously worked for, and I had no problem because that's what I did when I went to work, so, which was fine because I never linked the two together. Is that, Carl, you don't do that all the time. Like maybe once a month you'll have a training, maybe once a quarter you'll have a workshop. You know what I mean? So I said I put everything on the website. There's four things that I did. I said I did coaching, consulting, speaking, and mentoring, right? And I just put it on the website. And this a person came to my website. Then it was first horrible anyway, because my website person that does it, Charlene, had to reconstruct it. But when they came to the
Oh, yeah.
website, they was interested in all things that I offered. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I got a client that wants all things that I'm offering. So we had a Zoom and they talked to me about the things that they wanted. And I was like, I can't like do all of those at the same time, right? And I said this to myself, and I think the lady looked at me and kind of figured that that's what I was saying also. And she was like, "Well, maybe you're not the right candidate," and I was like, "Well, maybe I'm not." I say I have to rethink this, and I just was honest with her because it made no sense to go anywhere else because she had already figured it out. But I
Mm.
was honest with her, and that was my first realness into understanding you can't do all of those things because I wanted to do a podcast. I had actually started a podcast. I had started a blog. I did a website. I was mentoring because I mentor at risk youth. So I was doing that already and I was taking on that. Then I was trying to look at clients. There is an overwhelming factor in being a new entrepreneur. You had a video that I watched a little while ago, a couple of days ago, I think it was, and you talked about taking advice,
Mm.
taking advice from people who haven't done what you've done. And Lord knows when I first got in this entrepreneurial journey, me not knowing anything, I took a lot of advice from a lot of
Mm.
people who had not done nowhere nearly what I've done. How important and key is that? Because I looked at that video, yeah, about 13,000 views on that. So I think it resonated with a lot of people. How
Hmm.
important is that for us to listen or find those to listen to that can really move us next level?
I mean, people that have done like not a thing even close to what you want to do will deliver advice, right? And they can be the best, most well meaning people, like my parents. I love the crap out of them, right? And I mean, my dad and my stepmom are business oriented and they'll help me like work through things. But what they say is not like the instruction manual, it's not the Bible. And if they say that I can't or I shouldn't, that's their opinion. And so I think it's important to find those qualified mentors, and it's also important to know how to handle the barrage of opinions that are going to come at you as you start building something, because you're going to get opinions from your parents, your brother, your sister, your neighbors, your friends, right? Every single person you know is going to have something to say. So you have to really determine what you're going to listen to.
Yeah. And Cass said you made yourself a unicorn.
Yeah, because I really thought that was a fashion because that's what I had seen. Right, I had seen so many people of it, and I didn't know nobody's background because I didn't do a lot of
Mhm.
that because I wasn't into that. Like, and I think that's a mindset that's really needs to be talked about as well. That shift that you make, you really have to be ready to make that shift because a lot of people think that, oh, I'm this dynamic trainer in corporate that I can present that as a job, as a life skill where I can create a business upon, and
Mhm.
it's totally far from the truth because when I'm looking at a lot of the things that I actually did over the course of my 30 years in corporate, I'm only doing them maybe 2% of the time as a business owner.
Hmm.
98% of the time, I'm doing all these other things which I had no idea went on in a business, let alone me being responsible for. So when you think about the mindset that you've had and you doing the side hustle, did that really prepare you more so for what you was getting into? Because I know Captain Obvious says it should, but is that one of those things that you thought that it would probably be better if you just dived into some things and just hit that experience learning to cultivate where you was trying to go?
Yeah, this topic, I'm laughing because it's exactly right that when you start a business, you almost have to be ready to stop doing the thing that you love and the reason that you started it, right? Because if you want to scale, you have to be willing to teach other people what you're doing, or you might spend half your time doing the consulting, the coaching, the mentoring, the training, whatever you're doing, and the other half is working on a business, which no one taught you. They don't teach you that in college. Like, even if you
No.
go to college for entrepreneurship, it's like you get theories about how it works, but at the end of the day, no one tells you like how to set up payroll, how to do a good job hiring people, how to identify when you have to let people go, and how to go about doing that. It's like the learning is in the doing. And so I kind of think there's a balance, just like we've been talking about this entire time. But there's a balance between learning and doing. And I have always leaned more toward like, let's take action and see what happens. And I'm going to figure it out as we go. I remember Googling, like, how do I run payroll? Like, how do I pay people? Where do I have to pay taxes? I'm still figuring that out as we hire in different states now. Every single state has a different process. And my assistant is always like, let's do this early so I don't have to call the state of Georgia and spend 3 hours on the phone with them. And I'm like, okay, I'm working on it. And I'm like poking around through these government sites trying to figure out how to pay unemployment taxes in a new state. You're never going to know everything. And when you feel like you know how to do what you're doing now, something else is going to come up, and then you're going to have to figure that part out. So for me, all the experience and everything you learn is in the doing.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
exactly.
that's awesome.
Exactly. And this is the year to take action because I think we've been talking so long, or we've heard so many people just talk. Tell us what to do, tell us how to do it. Now let's show each other how to get this done, like you said. And for entrepreneurs, a lot of time you're thrown into the fire. You're really sitting there trying to keep your head above water, especially a lot of businesses go under in 5 years, and you don't want to
Hmm.
be one of those. Like, I guess when you're in school, they say, look to the left, look to the right. Somebody's not going to be here. And you don't want to
Hmm.
do that as a company, especially if it's something that you're passionate about. So, for you, how have you been able to help people marry that passion and still have a love for the actual business itself?
I think that probably the most important thing I've learned is that you have to learn to love the process. It's not necessarily about waking up every day and being like, I'm in love with my life and this business and everything's amazing, because it's not realistic, right? I'm looking
Mhm.
for like a practical level of happiness where I love what I do more than I don't, and more than, I really love the creative process. And when I can get myself into it and I'm feeling really creative and I'm in flow, that is like the best time in business. And it happens, like once or twice a week for a few hours. You're not going to be in this like state of loving everything every single day. That's just not how it works. So you have to start to figure out how to love the process, love solving problems, and love learning and applying what you've learned. And I think if you can get there, then it's a lot easier to grow that company and to stick with it.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
because when you're talking
Now,
about, oh, go ahead, Charlene. I'm sorry.
now go because I wanted her to talk about her podcast, but you ask her your question first.
No, that I was just going to chime in on that because I think that's wonderful when you learning. when you're doing that. And from everything I've read and seen in videos and stuff that you've done, because I do kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily say it call homework, but when I follow people, I kind of like follow them. And in the midst of it, I'm not just a follower to say you can add me to your numbers. More times than not, I'm checking your stuff out. I'm reading your stuff. I'm digesting it, and everything that I've seen from you is about action, and that's exciting to me because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when you've been in the game for as long as you have, they kind of slow up with the action. And in the beginning of it wasn't the beginning of mine because I can only speak for myself. A lot of things wasn't. I was kind of perturbed with the fact that I couldn't do what I love to do, and that was the reason why I
Mm.
started the business. And I think you kind of like shared some of your insights into the focal point of it being that, because a lot of people say it's your passion and you got to be able to do it your passion. And I also heard you got to work on your business while you're in your business or something to that effect. I didn't like it, so that's probably why it hasn't stuck with me. You got to work on your business
In
while
one
you're in
ear,
your.
out the
Yeah,
other.
because yeah, I normally remember. I'm normally pretty good with remembering. If you say something, it sticks with me. But if it says
That's
something and it
funny.
doesn't resonate with me, I just put it right out. But when you're working on your business, and that I'm gonna let you talk about your podcast. But I just thought about the question of how did you find that balance of having the business here of what you actually do and growing the business here of what's actually needed for the next
Mhm.
level, because I'm in that, and I'm sure a lot of us that's listening as well are in that mode, whether it be a year in, 2 years in, 4 years in. We all want to go next level, but I think
Mhm.
we get so entangled with the business aspect of it, we don't clear out space to like, how do I continue to write, prepare courses, do content, those kind of things. Have you really found that balance in the years that you've been working?
I did not find it naturally or by myself. I wanted to work in the business and I loved being the consultant and like the marketing brains. And that's not working on the business. I actually hired for pretty much, gosh, I want to say like 7 of 8 years, I've been working with my same business coach. And she's the one that forces me to work on the business every
Okay.
2 weeks. She assigns me that homework and says, okay, these are the things that you're going to work on the business in the next 2 weeks. I want to see your financials for last year. I want to see the training plan for this new employee that you're hiring, right? And so she helps me prioritize all of that and forces me to look at the things that I don't want to look at. I've said a number of times, I'm a creative. I love the creative process. Looking at the numbers and the financials, I'm like, oh, no, thank you. Like for a long time, it was confusing and it was scary because we didn't have any money. So I didn't want to look at it. So I think for me, I would love to say, like, I determined this percentage that I needed to work on the business and then I just went and did it. But that's not realistic for everyone. I needed an accountability partner to kind of force my hand. I remember the first time my business coach had me do what she calls a financial scorecard, which is like an indicator of all of the different financial numbers that you need to look at. And I was filling it out and I emailed her and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I hate doing this. This takes way too long. And I showed up to the next coaching and she was like, yes, you are. You will be doing it for the entire time we work together if you want to continue working with me. And I'm still doing it today. But now I get it. Now I know what I'm looking at and I know where to get the numbers and now I'm more comfortable. So yeah, that business bestie or that accountability partner, I think is key.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and I love that you said as a creative, that is not where we want to be. And
never.
it's true. A lot of
No.
creatives try to avoid that side or say, let me hire someone, but you still need to understand it yourself. Because as we see, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses get messed over because they didn't take the time to understand what they
Mhm.
hired someone else to do for them. And unscrupulous people do take advantage of that. They say like,
Mhm.
well, you didn't want to look at the numbers, and they have it fun. They have fun with your numbers. So it's always good to understand what's happening. So when you do hire someone to help you take over that part of it, you know what they should be doing at the very least. So I love
Absolutely.
that 'cause as a fellow creative, I'm like, no, thank you.
And I
Honestly,
work an accountant a lot of my years in corporate, and I can't stand it. I love numbers, and math was fun to me as far as a knowledge of, as far as just what it was. My mom's a CPA, so numbers has been in my life for a long time. She played games with us. If you get to the counter and you tell me how much is this percentage off of this, I'll buy you a pack of gum. Like with us as brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, it was a game to us. So numbers came easy. But when I started doing accounting, staff accounting, corporate accounting, procurement, all of that, I was like, this is horrible. I don't like this. So now as a business owner, I kind of know where things go, and I still don't look at them 100% because I don't like it. I like to create. So that's a
I
good
don't
thing. We're
either.
talking real talk there. You gave us real talk.
Yes,
Seriously,
yes.
almost 9 years in, I'm still, my husband last week like helped me put together a cash flow projection for this year. And he's like, this is what this means. And these are the decisions that you'll have to make. And this is the amount of sales that you need. And I was like, ugh, I still hate this. Like almost 9 years. And I'm still like, oh, this spreadsheet, yucky. So, I mean, it's something you need to do. And like I said, accountability and having people help hold you accountable is huge.
Yes. So let's talk about your podcast because we touched on it a little bit about how if you wanted it to be good, you wanted it to be something that you can really go all in and make it spectacular. So talk about what is the podcast about and what can we learn from the podcast, and also where can we get the podcast?
Yes. Okay. Good questions. It is called The Art of Entrepreneurship, and it's a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. So every week I put out 3 episodes, but they're all 10 minutes or less. Basically, I'm catering to the people like me that have a very short attention span. My attention span is like, ooh, and I'm off to the next thing. So I wanted people to be able to listen while they're like walking their dog or they're on a short commute or whatever it may be. Every week I put out 3 episodes. One's called Big Questions, Short Answers. So it's like all the questions that you have to consider as an entrepreneur or professional and answering them. Like, am I happy? Why am I procrastinating? I think there's lots of questions we ask ourselves like every single day. Second one is called Startup Survival. That is like the nitty gritty. Here's how you run a business every day. Here's how you sell. Here's how you market, hire. We get into financials a little bit. And then the Friday episode is things people say. So it's all about all of the things that people will say to you while you're on your journey, and kind of that more like soft skills part of it, and how to determine who you listen to, how to learn not to internalize all of that stuff. So it's become a process of basically me documenting my journey and all the different thoughts that I have, and my stories and my information that I've gathered on how to handle all of that. Last part was where you can find it. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, pretty much Stitcher, pretty much anywhere that you listen to your podcast, it's there. I don't think it's on Pandora though. Who knew Pandora had a podcast platform? I did not until recently.
Either.
Yeah.
I stopped listening to them a long time ago.
Yeah, me too.
I listen to Spotify mostly, or Apple most of the time. I forgot about Pandora. They probably get some more customers. And I think they had. I saw the commercial. And they had the guy. I can't even remember his name. The guy that remixes and DJs for everybody. Heavy set, light skin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
he's done a Pandora commercial. He said he uses that for his mixtapes, which I don't think I would have told anybody. Saying that I am a mixer and one, right? So, but anyway, I think they'll come back to life with that. But the podcast, the art of the entrepreneurship, I think it's something that everybody should listen to. I listened to a couple episodes, and like it is that quickness, because my attention span is that too. I would say an ant, but ants, they have long attention spans because they do a lot of work. My attention span is very short, and if it's engaging to me, I have no problem. And yours engaging. So some of the stuff that you saying that, and I'm like, oh wow, you could have went on. You could have went on. Like I was just getting that, and then you cut it off. Was that intentionally done? So you got the soap opera appeal with that. Come back for the next episode.
Some people message me and they're like, but I need more information. And I'm like, well, see you next time. I can. So and now I'm starting to iterate on topics and do like, okay, I talked about this topic in September, and now I'm going to build on it and what you can do with it in 2022. And then, I do offer some longer form content like my blog on my website and the weekly letter. So I try to keep it all digestible in a short period of time. But who knows? It could change.
It's good stuff.
We'll
It's
see.
good stuff. It's good stuff, though. All
Very
right. Well,
good.
we can. How can we work with you? Because I know we got some people in the audience that might say, "Man, this lady has it all together." I love the advice. I love the advice that she's given. And not only that, she got a husband that helps with financial projections for the next year. I mean, come on. How better can we get at having someone help us out? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to reach out to me, my website, jackiehermes.com, I offer consultations there. And then my marketing agency is accelitymarketing.com. It's ACCELITY. And we work with B2B software companies. So you can reach out to us there. And then also, if you want to talk to me, hit me in the DMs of LinkedIn. I spend way too much time there, but I read all of them and respond to all of them. So I'm happy to answer like any questions that anyone has.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. What you got, Charlene?
Yes. Well, what I got is Jackie is somebody that I think you guys need to have in your ring.
I
Have
know where
have
this
her with
going.
you.
I know where this
No,
going.
it's true. Well,
No, I was gonna
we
say I
having
thought
a
it was the part
twofer.
two. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew that. I knew where this was
Uh,
going.
but we'll talk with Jackie on the back end on that because you have so much insight to give, especially those who are trying to get their businesses up and running, be those entrepreneurs that they know they can be. And I would love to have more conversation with you on how to avoid those pitfalls that a lot of us
Mhm.
come up against because it can be daunting. It can be easy to fall into the shiny object syndrome where we're following so many different feedback opportunities, but then are they the right opportunities? Or is this the direction we need to be going for our particular businesses? Because people can give you feedback on what they've done, but does it really translate to what you need to do? So I would
Right.
love to go into that conversation more, especially because you give so many tidbits. I want people to say, I need to work with Jackie. So this is another, consider this, folks, as another taste of what you're going to get from her, and understand, what is it that you need before you go to anybody, especially Jackie. Understand where are you now and where would you like to be. I think that becomes a more beneficial conversation by the time everybody starts to connect and grow and build. So this is all about taking action. Make sure you follow her on LinkedIn. Make sure that you connect. If this is a right fit of a connection, connect with Jackie. Make sure that you're there and listen to the podcast. Jump all over there, get into that podcast. And I see you also has my newsletter. So folks, y'all know how this is. If you want information, go get it. But don't just grab information. Actually take action on what will resonate with you, because like I said, this is the year of taking action, the year of collaborations. Thank you so much, Jackie. I wanted to also ask you before we go, what have you put in motion that this is on the horizon? This is something that I want to see happen because maybe somebody in the community can help that um, pop off for you.
Yeah. Let's see. My goals for this year, we have a gigantic revenue goal for the company. And I actually am taking back over the marketing program for the company where I wasn't running it for a few years. So I am really pumped about that, leaning more into that creative side. So any referrals, any B2B software companies that send them my way. And yeah, I would appreciate it.
Love it, love it.
Definitely. We're definitely going to be on that. We champion the cause of everybody who's been on our show or who we consider to be our friends. And we're just that. We have invited you into the family, Jackie. So we definitely want to make sure we got panels coming up. 'Cause talk about
Did-
panels and with some dynamic information. I'll just say part two. Some dynamic information and putting those together where people can really do some actionable
See, I think that's his Jersey connect.
Freezing.
That's that's his Jersey connect. But till he gets back on, I just wanted to, yeah, see, I wanted to thank you
Hi.
again for being on the show, and of course, Let me see. Did he just pop back in? Yes, he did.
Oh, okay. I'm
Hmm.
sitting there talking in my little connection. Don't start talking about New Jersey Wi-Fi either. I don't hear it.
Already happened. Already happened. You know, I'm
You
on. I'm
missed
on
it.
top of that already.
Yeah.
Jackie,
But
we thank you, Jackie. We thank you. I ain't gonna fool with Charlotte
yes.
this morning.
Oh
Thank
gosh.
you. And for those of you who are checking us out for the first time, welcome. Thank you. For our regulars, thank you for always coming through. The
Yeah.
community is strong. We appreciate you all. And if you ever want to know what's the next episode, what's going on, check out realtalklivepodcast.com. Join live. You're going to actually be taken to the event, the live event on LinkedIn, and you can also see us on YouTube, Facebook. So check that out. And as of YouTube, please connect with us on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube so you can start seeing all our older episodes. We're going to start doing some things differently. So you may not see the full episode because you need to be here live.
Yes, we're gonna
Hmm.
stop
But
giving
you
y'all
Love
these
it.
packets. Yes, because it'd be a
but
lot of. We've had some people on to give us a lot of information, and we're going to start carrying them and highlighting them for what they've shared. Because being on these shows for an hour, and we've been doing it now about 8 months. We've had a
mhm.
lot of guests. We do 2 shows a week, so we've had a lot of guests that have shared a lot of nuggets, and we're going to be like highlighting them, and we're going to see who's been paying attention. I'm of the teacher mentality, so we're going to see who's been paying attention, and and the grade is just going to be what you have. It's just going to be
Yes.
what you put in place with the knowledge that you've learned. I'm not great. Y'all don't have that red ink pen, even though I got one around here on my desk somewhere. I'm not the red ink pen. The red ink pen is what's going to be your success in the business and how you took advantage of the things that were given to you. And this is what it's really going to be. It's real talk, guys. I'm talking real.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the last word is going to be learn to love the process.
Yes.
Especially as an entrepreneur, too many of us think that it should be the next day success. That is not going to happen. You have to learn to love the process. Get to know it, get to love it because it's a hard road. It's a hard road. Can it be rewarding? Of course, especially if it's something you love. But there's so many things like Jackie mentioned, finance. I don't want to do that part, but I have to if I want money to come in. So we have to
Exactly.
know that the things that we don't like, we have to understand those well enough so then by the time we can bring on amazing people to help us handle those parts. But know that you need to learn to love the process. And thank you all for joining us. We're about to head out because we business people, we got meetings.
Yeah, yeah. We got stuff to do.
We
Jackie got to
do.
go. She got to go learn to love this process she's doing out there. Thank you for all my Midwest people that showed up. I want to give a special shout out to you guys out there in the Midwest. I know you guys got Green Bay playing this weekend, but don't get too excited, cheeseheads. But anyway, love you guys anyway. Had to get that part of the shot. Any last word for us, Jackie? What you got to send us on with?
Oh God, take action. One thing you've been thinking about today, go do it. I think that's the key.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That you see how quick that was, y'all. Ain't nobody playing.
Boom.
Ain't nobody playing. Nobody playing these 2022 streets. Ain't nobody playing. Thanks a lot, guys. And thank you. Appreciate everybody that's came by. We love you guys. Continue to support. Go back and check out hashtag replay. Check out all the gems that Jackie dropped. Also, check out all of her links, which will be in the show's comments. Go check her out. See the fabulous work that she's doing for her business and for those who choose to work with her. We thank you guys. We'll see you guys on Thursday for another lovely episode of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Deuces.
Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.